I was playing some 3-on-3 basketball the other day, and I hit 14 consecutive three-point shots. Do you doubt me? We're talking a little bit about doubt today. This is the first Sunday after Easter that this reading shows up, and it tracks with one of the disciples. His name is Thomas. Now, you might have heard of him as Doubting Thomas. The Bible never calls him that. That's something that we've called him. And we're going to hear his story and how he doubted if Jesus had actually risen from the dead. Have you ever had that doubt before? Let's have a look. This is a reading from the Gospel according to John. Glory to you, O Lord. But Thomas, who was called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them, the rest of the disciples, when Jesus came. This is right after his resurrection, when he appeared to the disciples. Thomas was not first with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said, "Unless I see the marks of the nails in his hands, and I put my finger in the mark of the nails, and my hand in the side where the Romans speared him, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were again in the house, and Thomas was with them. Although the doors were shut, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Do not doubt, but believe." Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to Thomas, "Have you believed because you've seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe." The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. This is such a helpful passage. This is such a good story because Thomas is you and me, right? I told you guys I hit 14 consecutive three-point throws, and you guys are like, yeah, some of you guys see me play basketball. I hardly hit a 2-point field goal, right? So you guys know that you had reason to doubt, right? Thomas had good reason to doubt too, right? They were there. They knew Jesus was nailed to that cross and that he died, and the Romans laid him in the tomb, and it was game over. The rest of the disciples, shortly after Jesus rose from the grave, they saw him. He appeared to them, but Thomas, for whatever reason, we don't get to know that, he wasn't there. And so they came and they said to Thomas, we've seen Jesus. He's alive. And Thomas is like, "Say what?" Like, he was bleeding. He was broken. I saw him dead. They laid him in the tomb. Like, there's no way. Nuh-uh. No way. I'm not going to believe until... And then he just gives this like burden of proof. He's like, this is the threshold that I'm going to have to see before I can believe. And then Jesus hits that threshold. Thomas never left. He never ran away. He had a week in between where he heard the story and before he actually got to experience himself. And that whole week, the disciples, they would have been talking about this. We've seen him. No, I'm serious. We have. Thomas never quit. He didn't run away. He just said, "Look, I've got to see it for myself." And that's just so honest, right? That's us. That's you and me. Like, I need proof. How many times have we heard about that? Like, how do I know? How do I know that this is all real? How do I know this is true? That's you and me, right? And Jesus says, "I get it." He says, "I get it. Thomas, you believe now because you got to put your fingers in the holes in my hands. You believe you have had the ability to have that experience. But God bless those who believe and still haven't got the evidence that they really feel they need." Jesus is telling us what faith looks like. He's like, you might want the evidence, but you're going to experience the blessing when you just practice your faith and try and believe before you get all the proof you need. I'm not going to let you down, is really what he's telling us. And so that's a challenge, because we want to know, like, we want to see, we want to hear it, we want to feel it ourselves, right? We want to know, show me the proof. That's Thomas. And Jesus is just saying, I get it, I understand, but blessed are you who believe and haven't yet seen. So that's our challenge for this week. Can you believe without getting all the evidence that you think you need? Can you believe with the evidence that is already there? Let's try that. Let's try that this week. How's that sound? All right. Love you guys. Love doing these with you. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.